this is a love letter to Canada, trying to seduce Canada, but Mr. Carney.
Okay. If I may. My privilege to introduce our former greatest trading partner, an orange-faced idiot. I'm sorry, poor choice of words. The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Governor Canary is a disaster, quite frankly. Stephen Gabot, did you see that? He just slapped him in the face and walked out, and he did nothing. He sat there like a chump. Same word. Oh, Canada! My darling, why haven't you written back? Didn't you get my other letters? Or are your postal workers on strike again? Why won't you accept my proposal? I want to make you my 51st state, the state of marriage, united in marriage and united in states. I can't stop thinking of you. Your Great Lakes full of crystal clear water that would quench my never-ending thirst. How I long to explore your lush interior. Not only do I want to call you mine, but I want to mine you. And you can't spell minerals without mine. Your melting Arctic is slowly opening your trade routes like a blossoming flower. Let me become your honeybee, how I want to fertilize you, quite frankly. But don't make me sting you. I cannot help but dream of your dark, wet, chocolatey oil dripping down your pipeline, bringing sweet salvation like the delicious Diet Coke delivered to my waiting lips from a plastic straw, not the paper ones. They're a disaster. But it goes on like that, yeah. And he talks about, he seduces Canada.
You want to pick another one? Merci pour. Sorry, I'll do Carney again. Merci pour reading le book.
I have no idea what he said. I think he's having a bit of a stroke or something.
Well, in the sketches we do, you often say, "Stop speaking Spanish."
Yeah.
Dealer's choice.
I'll read a little bit of the start of the book so you get a sense of the book as a whole, and there's a little bit of Trump in there.
Okay.
My name is Mark, and to quote the beer commercial, I am Canadian. And you can tell I am Canadian because one of the few cultural touchstones I can use to prove my identity is a beer commercial. In fact, I am aggressively Canadian, and because of that, my Canadianness is the only aggressive thing about me. Years from now, an archaeologist might find the skeletons of two Canadians in the doorway of some ruins. They will ponder how the two Canadians came to die. Was it a duel? Were they attacked? Unless the archaeologist is themselves a Canadian, they'd never suggest the obvious reason. They met in a doorway. They are Canadian. Therefore, they died of starvation. This was the site of a Canadian standoff. A Canadian standoff is like a Mexican standoff, but the weapon of choice is pacifism. On and on they would go, edging an argument, never quite climaxing. Eventually, as hours turned to days and months, they would starve to death. Whereas if a Canadian bumped into an American on the street, the American might shoot them. It's a subtle difference. But it's there, and that's where our identity lies. The thing that makes us uniquely Canadian is somewhere in the ether between being a doormat and committing murder. It's a yin and yang kind of a thing. The top part is snowy white and peaceful, and the bottom part is an asshole. And if you remember your geography, America is our bottom. Of late, our bottom has been acting up. At first, we thought it was nothing. We ignored it. It'll go away on its own, we thought. But it got worse and worse until we couldn't sit, sleep, or eat. We had an all-encompassing pain in our arse. And after a painful colonoscopy of introspection, we learned it wasn't cancer, it was Donald Trump. If America was a video game, Donald Trump would be the final boss. An uber-American, rich but bankrupt, golden skin but fake tanned, a crown of hair but it's a comb over. Donald Trump is a human veneer. He wanted to annex us, take us over, absorb us. He was threatening our sovereignty. And of course, he wanted to make us a state. Of course, we were already a state of denial. Trump was expecting us to do what we'd always done. He thought we'd say, after you, and let Americans walk straight over the Peace Bridge and plant the stars and stripes above the Peace Tower. But something had changed in us. The Peace Tower became the frig right off tower. And the Peace
bridge became the FU arsehole straw bridge. Canada had rolled out the Welcome Act for Americans, and they had mistaken it for a doormat. And for the first time since the War of 1812, Canadians had had enough. To Trump, Canada is an endless reserve, not just of oil and water, but of the other thing he desperately needs for a successful second term: angry white men in F-150 trucks. The average Yank wouldn't know it these days, but your average Canadian doesn't look a thing like the pasty white lumberjack, and they never did. In fact, Canadians don't look like any one thing at all. They're a mix of different colors, languages, and colors. A first-generation Chinese Canadian in Vancouver will look very different from a fifth-generation Newfoundlander of Irish descent, and they'll look very different from a Mohawk woman in Hamilton whose lineage can be traced back to a time long before Canada was ever a twinkle in a drunken Scottish-born Prime Minister's bloodshot eye. In fact, there are so many versions of Canadians, it can be difficult, if not impossible, to say what a Canadian is. And that is a good thing. A question as complex as what is a Canadian should never have an easy answer. Maybe it's best answered by saying what it is not. These days, the answer to what a Canadian might well be not an American. America is supposed to be our ally, our best friend, but lately America is acting like a toxic ex-boyfriend, one that loves to oil and gaslight us, especially when it comes to Alberta. Donald Trump has said he doesn't need us. In January of 2025, he spoke at the World Economic Forum. He said, "Canada's been very tough to deal with over the years. We don't need them to make our cars, and we make a lot of them. We don't need their lumber because we have our own forests. We don't need their oil and gas. We have more than anyone." As any woman will tell you, nobody needs you more than the man who is telling all his friends how worthless you are. America is negging us. In dating terms, negging is an act of emotional manipulation, belittling someone to make them doubt themselves, using a backhanded compliment or insult to undermine someone's confidence. If someone is negging you, they might say, "Your hair looks nice today, for a change." Or, "I met your prime minister. He'd make a great governor of the state of Canada." They don't even recognize our border anymore. Trump says he wants to redraw it. He said, "Somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, a straight line across the top of the country." For some reason, the Canadian border is a random imaginary line, but the Mexican border must be protected at all costs. Somehow, both borders are merging in his mind. He even says that Mexican cartels are sending drugs into the States through the Canadian border. Makes no sense. Has he ever tried to mail a package? I can't afford to post a Christmas gift from Newfoundland to BC, let alone heroin from Tijuana to Los Angeles via Moncton. And then, remember when he decided to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America? The name had to be changed on all official documents. Even Google gave in. They now show both names. When users outside the States look up the area on Google Maps, they see Gulf of Mexico, brackets, Gulf of America. But Trump doesn't just want Canada and the Gulf. He also wants Greenland, or as is soon to be known on Google Maps, Greenland, brackets, red, white, and blue land. Trump refuses to recognize it when people state their pronouns, but he feels perfectly comfortable rewriting maps willy-nilly. I think we fight fire with fire. I think it's time for the Prime Minister to officially change the name of North America to South Canada. Imagine the frustration on Trump's face when he Googles the continent and sees North America, brackets, South Canada. Or better yet, North America, brackets, South Canada, Canada du Sud. So it's easy to feel powerless. In this scenario, Canadians are David and Americans are Goliath. But we have a sling and a rock and pretty good aim. We can fight back in small ways. We can stop buying American booze. We can choose not to vacation in the States. I am a writer. I felt the need to write. I wanted to purge my mind of all these frustrated thoughts and hopefully comfort and inspire. In the following pages, I hope to remind you of some of the reasons Canada is worth fighting for, some of the things about it that inspire me, and to remind you, every now and then it's okay to say no. After me. The rules have changed. The neighborhood will never be the same. The guy on the other side of the fence is a real estate developer who wants to tear down the fence and make our home a place to put a hot tub. If we are to survive, we must fight against our most basic instincts and put politeness aside. It's time to button line. No longer can we hold the door open for our invaders. We must go from elbows up to knees up. Because America thinks it can grab Canada by the Regina. It is time for us to stand up and shout, "Sorry, not sorry, you can't invade us, please, thank you, sorry for yelling, won't happen again."
I just want you to say my favorite lines in the book, which comes a little later when you imagine that there's a fabulous chapter in here about all the different provinces invading different parts of the United States, and the Quebecers get to invade.
And beyond. So thank you to my two dear friends for coming in. And thank you all for coming in.
When I see you, will you be signing?
Look, I'm going to go down there now and get out my Sharpie and sign copies.
See you there. Thank you, everyone.